So, what are we talking about today?
We're going to discuss everything around childcare, particularly focusing on nursery.
Yeah.
So I think going to be a huge episode. We've picked a big topic again. Probably should have been multiple episodes.
Well, you never know. We could all split it into two. Let's see how it goes.
That's it. It's done now. This episode is called Illness Central.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome to the imaginary... what are we going to be today? The grandparents' bungalow.
Oh, how cute.
Yeah, I thought it was appropriate for kind of childcare episode.
Yeah.
So the toddler is entertained. Come chat and sit with us about. Come sit and chat with us. That's the right way around. About parenting, have some fun, and connect with fellow crafty people and Yorkshire parents. We're not experts, and as you can see, we're not even very professional.
No.
We're here to have some relaxed conversation, which you're invited to, and
Yeah, come on. Bring up a beanbag.
I don't think a grandparent's bungalow would have a beanbag.
No.
Maybe like
Pull up an old armchair.
like a chair that where the legs flick up, or like a rocking chair.
My parents are quite high tech. They've got one you press a button and it's whoop, comes up to meet your feet.
I'm Elliot. I'm one half of your host with you today, and my other host half is my other half, Emma.
It sounds like we're physically like half a person. And someone's sewn us together.
I'm the one that's absolutely terrible at taking pills.
Yeah.
And generally pretty poor at being ill.
Literally happened yesterday. He was nearly throwing up because he had to take a pill.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Take one with impressively without water.
I can't even imagine doing that. It's beyond just so impressive.
Don't get me on a topic. I think it's because men and women, we just have to get on with stuff.
I'm sure this will come up again as we talk about illness as part of the episode. Pudding, it's parenting achievement time. Pulled it off slightly better than last time. Before we get into chatting about stuff, about parenting, we like to have a little segment where we share some stories or just showcasing that we're not perfect parents.
What parenting achievement would you like to admit to?
Admit to? It's like you're accusing me, like, come on, share something bad you've done.
Well, I feel like they're not normally good.
I feel most of them are kind of more situational.
That's true.
Kind of things that have happened rather than
parenting situation would you like to admit to?
I thought one of the things to share was a story of Lily picking up sign language from nursery that we didn't know. So she came back with some, once she started going to nursery, we suddenly realised that she was doing like some baby sign language to us to communicate. This was a while ago before she could talk well and communicate with us.
Verbalize it all,
And we were like, we recognised it as baby sign language. We were like, we have no idea what she's saying.
It's one of the things, like, I had good intentions. I watched a few videos at the start, and then it kind of, because we were then, this was my excuse, because we were then potty training, I was just like, oh, we're potty training, like, we're already doing that. And I know that, if they can sign for potty, that probably helps. But I was just like, I feel like we're already doing a lot, and I just can't invest in that as well. Like...
Yeah, you have to pick your battles, don't you? And what you're going to prioritise. And baby sign language is one of those that
fell off the wagon.
Didn't make the cut for us.
Yeah.
Would have been nice to do, but we just never managed it. Yeah, I thought it was a situation that people could relate to.
True. Yeah, that one that was a parenting fail. We just were like, sure, you're trying to tell us stuff we don't understand. Sorry. You don't know what she made me do just like 10 minutes ago before Grandad came and was a saviour. She dropped her ring in the potty that she'd just weed in, and she was crying, and I was like, let me pour it out first, and she was like, no, I need it out now. So I tried to put her hand in. I was like, no, I'll do it, because if you put your hand in, I can't ensure you're going to clean it properly. So I had to put my hand in, still warm urine, to get the ring out. And I was like, this is really gross.
Yeah.
But I was like, I can clean the ring and I can clean my hands better than I feel like. Because you're very independent. She'll want to clean her own hands. And I'm like, I don't know if that'll pass the check. So yeah, that's a parenting achievement I didn't think I'd have done today.
That's a good story. It's a fun achievement. I like it. Those listening, have you ever had to put your hand in a potty full of weed? Have you?
I mean, is it worse if it was cold? I was thinking it was pretty bad because it was warm, but maybe it would be bad if it was cold.
I don't know. I really don't know.
I shouldn't really be thinking about it too much, I think.
If you have stories you'd like to share with us, do let us know. Stay tuned till the end and we'll share some stories from people who have sent us things in, who are listeners. Yeah, you could get yours featured on too. Just message us on, the places somewhere. Get in contact. I'm sure you can work it out.
Yeah.
We're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever.
See us in the street. Go, hey, got a story.
Right, put those bottles in the steriliser and let's dive into talking about childcare. It fits quite well today, actually, because we've had a childcare situation.
Yeah, emergency.
Yeah, do you want to explain?
So our nanny messaged us this morning and was like, basically, I think one of the other families has been a sickness, diarrhea, bug thing going around. And she's messaged been like, I'm not feeling great. I really think I've caught it. So I'm not going to come today. I'm really sorry. And I was like, that's fine. Don't worry. And you say that's fine. Don't worry. And then your mind goes like, oh my God, we have so much to do today. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
So it was
Panic.
about 7:30 and I rang. I call him Grandad, but he's my dad, but Lily's Grandad. And I called him and I was like, are you free today? And I was trying to do the whole, but don't worry if you're not. It's fine. Rochelle's not coming, so we need you.
Yeah. Childcare is hard, isn't it? Like, it's a balancing act. You'll have got a bit of an idea if you've listened to our episode on working and what we do for jobs. And it will be different for everyone. We don't have the luxury, unfortunately, to have like a stay-at-home parent.
Yeah.
So we both work full-time.
It's sad because we'd both love it, I think.
Yeah. And so we kind of have to negotiate the whole childcare kind of situation.
Yeah.
And it will be different for everyone, won't it? And it would be interesting to hear from listeners kind of the makeup of how you deal with things. But we're going to speak, as we always do, from our own experience and what we're up to. So, shall we start with that, really? We've mentioned about Grandad. So we do have some support from grandparents, which I think is quite common these days.
It is, yeah. I think cost of living, most people kind of need grandparents to be involved.
Just as an aside, listeners might be interested to know that our nickname for Grandad around Lily, who gets very excited if they hear the word Grandad. So in our house, he's referred to as Big G. Yeah,
Big G, or the G-Man.
Or the G-Man.
Because if she hears the word Grandad, she assumes he's coming that instant.
Right now.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how toddler brain works. Yeah. It's like, well, it must be here now. Must be here right now.
So, we can't actually say his name. If she were here, this would all be the G-Man.
It does create some interesting kind of situations, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, as you'll know, we go to church and stuff, so we've got quite a few religious friends who, when you're referring to like Big G around, like, you slightly worry that people might think you're being a bit blasphemous.
Yeah, true. I do think some people didn't find it funny either. When I told them it was like a joke and they were like, just gave me a side eye, and I was like, oh no, they don't find it funny. Okay.
Oh well, we don't really mind what people think of us.
No. If we did, would we be doing this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, revealing all our secrets through the podcast. So your parents come, and G-Man often comes on a Friday to help with childcare.
It does.
And we rely heavily then on nursery, and one day a week we have a nanny, which is normally today.
Yeah, normally today.
See, that's quite interesting, isn't it? We'll get into nursery. Nursery is a big topic that we'll get into in a moment. I also find it interesting the different ways you can have like nannies or childminders, babysitters, au pairs.
Au pairs, yeah.
Au pairs.
You might have said it right. I don't know.
Well, I feel like you'd know it's French, isn't it?
I've heard so many English people say it, though. I think my brain can't quite... Like, I've never heard a French person say it.
So, yeah, I often get very confused with the differences. Also, I find it...
Oh, it's a big overlap between a lot of them.
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure if it's strictly defined.
Yeah.
But I find it strange because, to me, like, my grandma on my mum's side was always known as nanny. So I always find it funny that, like, we have a nanny. It also makes you think of, like, old, Victorian kind of grand stately homes where you have, like, a nanny and a nursery.
Come on, nanny.
Yeah. So our nanny is a nanny because she comes and, like, looks after Lily at our house.
Yes.
Rather than, like, something like a childminder, which you would take the children to their house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the difference, isn't it? Yeah. And an au pair would live in your house.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
That would be good.
Yeah,
I can see myself liking that if we had, unlimited money in a big house.
Yeah. I suppose maybe people would be interested to know how we came to have a nanny.
Yeah.
So we started with her before we started nursery to help with childcare quite early.
Basically, Elliot had like a breakdown one night and was like, I can't do this. I can't keep working like this. Let's find a solution. And then we were like discussing like, well, maybe we should get a nanny. Come one day a week, then we can, that full day, both of us can just do work rather than playing catch up all the time.
It was helpful that she came to the house. Like, we were more comfortable with that when she was little.
Yeah, because how old was she?
About just over 6 months.
Just over 6 months, yeah.
And so she could follow a lot of our, not rules, but, how we did things, and our stuff was there.
And also I think it was more familiar to Lily. She was more at ease.
And then she's been so great that we've kept her.
Because for ages we were like, once she starts nursery, we won't have the nanny. But she's been so good, we can't.
Lily could go like 3 days to nursery, but there's kind of pluses and minuses to it, isn't there?
Get a lot more illnesses at nursery.
Yeah. Again, we'll come to that in a second. But one of the advantages, I think, is that we can avoid some of that through having childcare at home. Slightly more expensive, just in terms of...
because you're paying one-on-one instead of
just the way it is, isn't it? It's not... But and equally, she gets one-on-one time with someone who's like really great with her and's become a good friend. Yeah.
And like when Lily used to nap, she'd be really good because she'd actually clean and like... Problem is now Lily doesn't nap. There's no like time for her to do the other stuff she used to do.
Yeah. So shall we move on to nursery then? So we have a nanny on a Wednesday and grandparents help on a Friday.
Yeah.
And on a Monday and a Thursday, Lily goes to nursery.
She does.
Yeah. So it's always interesting because we only have our experience. We're trying to speak to other parents to gauge like, how is our nursery? How does it compare to any other nursery? Yeah. Like, we weren't sure, is ours big? Do they do things in the same way?
Yeah.
Like, all sorts of things.
This is a side note, but this was really funny. My sister Kirsty yesterday was saying that she was kind of, because she's kind of booked her little girl into nursery and everything. She's starting at them next year. Her husband gave the one-off comment like, Kirsty was like, well, I think, from what Emma's been saying, they're kind of ill a lot of the time when they first go. And her husband went, oh, but that's fine, because, we won't pay for it then. And she was like, what do you mean we won't pay for it? He was like, because you won't have gone in. And Kirsty had to explain, no, regardless if your child goes in or not, you're paying.
Yeah.
Like...
I wish it was like that, Rob, but it's not.
Then Rob was like, but the child won't be in. And she's like, yes, but if your child was meant to be in, they will have staff for those numbers. And he was like, oh. But it was funny because I was like, it's one of those realizations I think we were quite shocked by, in that we were like, oh, well, if they're ill, they just don't go in and you don't pay them. Because like with Rochelle, if we were like, oh, we're really sorry, or Rochelle's really sorry, they're not paid for that day. It's not like but I was meant to be here. So we used to that freedom almost. And then when we got to nursery, we were like, oh no, it's quite strict about like, if we want to take her out of nursery, we have to let them know a full month before. So then you don't have to pay for the day. Any time after that, you will pay regardless because they need to know numbers and things, which is kind of fair.
Yeah. One of our pitfalls is we foolishly and naively picked a Monday for Lily to go to nursery, not realising that there's quite a lot of bank holiday Mondays
that you still pay for.
Yeah. We feel like we're not getting a good deal there.
Yeah. So a hint, don't pick a Monday. If you want to make the most of your money and have your child going, don't do a Monday.
Yeah. Well, I suppose some people, they don't really have a choice. Like some people, you must go full time to nursery.
Oh, yeah, but then it doesn't matter, really.
Yeah.
I just feel like we've picked 2 days, and one of the days we picked seems to always be the day they're off.
I think from those we talk to, it's quite common to go not every day, especially at this age. At Lily's 2.5, she started going when she was 1 and a bit.
Yeah, which is still pretty young.
Yeah. People go at different ages. Some people go only just preschool, just before they start proper school.
And some people don't do it because it's not paid.
Yeah, until they get the 3 hours.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, it's still just about worth it to pay for her to...
Well, otherwise we couldn't work, so we wouldn't have any money.
Yeah, exactly. How did we find it when going back to over a year ago now when Lily started? Remembering that time, how did we find it? Do you have any recollection of it?
I remember at first I was really sad because although it was stressful, I really enjoyed our one-on-one time together.
Yeah.
And I was very but the nanny's going to be here on a Wednesday and nursery's going to be, and then there's no free days. When am I going to have one-on-one time? So I really valued that we kept 1 or 2 days free where there was potential for one-on-one time.
Yeah.
Because I like, taking her out and going with me and doing something. Even if it was just to the park and getting coffee.
I was just grateful that we had days when I could work and get stuff done. Yeah, Lily coped very well. Well, we had 3 taster days, tester sessions where she went in just for a few hours across a week or 2 weeks or something. And she loved it, really. But Lily's quite sociable. She quite likes going. Yeah. She's always quite enjoyed nursery.
Yeah. We did do the trick, though, where Elliot would take her and I would pick her up.
Yeah.
Because we knew that worked best in that she'd be really excited to leave then because I was going to pick her up, and she'd be less clingy when he dropped her off.
Yeah, so I think it's very common that we've heard from other parents to have the dad drop off and the mum pick up. And it's a good tip. We would recommend it.
Good tip, recommend.
Definitely. Works very well. She's quite happy going to nursery with me, and she's quite happy being picked up by you. I was slightly worried when Lily first started how they'd manage, because baby's very individual, and because she was just over a year, so still fairly young. And
we were also worried because she was potty trained, and we were worried that she was in the baby room, and we didn't know if
how he'd cope with it all.
Ready for
we've not touched on this before. We started potty training very young, and not something that we, it's not to show off that we did it.
No.
It kind of just happened. Lily was very adamant about it. She didn't want to go to the toilet in a nappy.
No.
And so we introduced a potty very early. What's it called? What's the proper thing called? Is it?
Give me a second. My brain needs to work.
Elimination
training. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's when you do potty training before they can communicate.
Yeah. We didn't technically do it because normally people who do that start from birth.
Right.
Whereas we started from 6 months. One of my friends was like, "Oh, why don't you do this elimination, whatever it is?" And we were like, "Okay, we'll try that." And she took to it really well.
So it's one of the things we did invest in. So we were unsuccessful with baby sign language. Yeah. But potty training, we've been wildly successful with. She was out of nappies by 10, 11 months.
Yeah. By the time she was at nursery,
by the time she was a year, she was completely potty trained.
Yeah. But I was worried that they just wouldn't expect that, and therefore just wouldn't offer the potty. And I was also worried she would be nervous in a new environment and not express that she wanted to go. But actually, it worked well. We told them, and they were on it, and she she was good enough to show you when she needed it.
Yeah.
Not be
fascinating to hear from others how adaptable their nurseries are. But from our experience and what we've heard, quite a lot tend to be very good at knowing how to handle different needs, and when you're worried that there's specific things that they or just teaching them to do stuff they don't do at home. So we asked one of our friends about they've got it's our goddaughter who's recently started nursery, and we were asking them about how they've found it. And one of the things they said was that they were worried before they started because their daughter only did like contact naps, like they wouldn't sleep by themselves. And so how would they manage at nursery, like without the mum there to help her sleep? But within 3 days, she was like sleeping independently at nursery.
Which, can I just say, is typical child behaviour.
Definitely.
Where at home, they're like, oh no, I can't possibly do this.
How did you find, like, less of the practical stuff with nursery, but starting nursery, the kind of emotional, were you like worried about it, like with her there all day? Was it strange?
It was more strange because this is maybe a mum thing. I'm always half listening out for little noises. So I'd almost hear like phantom noises and be like, oh my goodness, that's Lily, what's she doing? And then remember like, oh no, she's not here, not in the house.
Yeah.
There's no way she's made a noise.
I think it can be quite an emotional thing leaving your kid with like some strangers and worrying how they get on. But we were lucky that Lily like adapted very quickly
because she went in
really
very
enjoyed
happy.
It.
I think if I'd known she'd gone in crying every day, it would have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I always think it's difficult when we're there. You always see kids who are kind of screaming because they don't want to leave and go in.
I think that must be makes it harder.
Yeah.
Whereas because she was quite happy to go in, I was quite... And nowadays, I mean, it's great. They send you photo updates all the time.
Yeah.
You have a little thing that shows how long they've slept, what they've eaten. Like, you have a lot of information at your fingertips, basically, to know how their day's gone.
Yeah. So some of the things I've noted down to bring up, I don't know whether it's tips or not, but it's worked well with us. So I thought I'd share our experience.
Oh, I also are you going to cover this?
I don't know what you're going to say.
Just like the preparation for them going to nursery, like labelling all her clothes.
Oh, yeah. I had not noted
making
that
sure.
down.
So they gave us a list of like, they need like an outdoor, like, like a puddle suit.
Yeah.
One of them, like they kind of give you a vague list of what they need, and they need like 3 changes of clothes for you to send with them. And like that, I kind of underestimated how much preparation that was. Just getting the nursery bag ready.
What I was going to mention, which is similar, was around the kind of bits and pieces we got, especially for nursery, that help Lily get excited. So we have a special like nursery bag that she only takes to nursery. We have a special nursery coat she only takes to nursery. And so when we get them out, she's like, oh, good, it's a nursery day.
Yes, you're right. And it makes her realise, like, this is what's going on today. That's what's happening.
Don't forget to click all the buttons. I'm sure you know how the internet works. If you're enjoying this podcast, or even if you're not, click subscribe, follow, like, comment, share. All the buttons. We like all the buttons. Leave a rating or a review. That would be great. And we'd love to hear your feedback.
Yeah. Feedback's always good.
We love feedback. That's good. Even if it's, things you'd like to see, hear differently or whatever.
See,
yeah, that's it. Well, as if you're on YouTube, you can see some stuff.
That's
see
true.
Some crafting.
They're like, these crafts are terrible.
These guys are terrible.
We need improvement.
Yeah. So yeah, just click the, although actually you're probably on a phone, so it's not really clicking, tap with your finger. Go on, do it now. Tap, tap. Shall we get on to the biggie then?
Yeah.
As the title of the episode, Illness Central, the main takeaway we had from starting nursery, and definitely seems to be a common experience, is just the onslaught of colds and flu, bugs and all sorts.
Yeah, it's true. It's one of the reasons now I pay to get the flu vaccine. I've always been like quite into getting it, but I never was like, I really need it. Whereas since Lily's been at nursery, I'm like, I need it. I need something to like try and fight off all the bugs that are coming in.
It was hard, wasn't it? Lily started nursery in the kind of September of 2022.
Yeah.
And so we were heading into winter, which wasn't great. It was also that year where it was kind of the first year everything was properly out of lockdown. And so they reckon everyone's kind of tolerance to
illness has gone down a lot.
So I know it was kind of a bad year for bugs all round with everyone. So
and like scarlet fever and stuff was really more dangerous than it used to be because a lot of children hadn't had any kind of bugs to kind of get any resistance to it all.
So I always reckon we had about 4 months when Lily started nursery, where it was just back-to-back illnesses, both for us and for Lily.
Well, I know numerous parents who just took their kids out and then didn't come back to nursery because... Well, and it makes sense. You're paying for 4 months for a child not to be in a place.
Yeah. Well, there's the cost thing, but also for a lot of parents, it's about, it's childcare, isn't it? That's the point of it. It's childcare. So, like, how do you work when your child's off all the time and then giving you illnesses and you're off all the time? It's really tough.
Because not even just, like, 1 or 2. Like, I've talked to about 5 different of my friends who were just like, it was too much and we just took them out. Like, we couldn't keep having them. Bringing back all these illnesses.
And it's interesting that that's the kind of final straw for the people we've spoken to, not necessarily the cost or the fact it didn't work, in terms of work and everything, but just the illness is what...
And it does make sense, it was exhausting.
Yeah. If you're going through that now, then...
there is light at the end of the tunnel, though.
Yeah,
Since that point, she's been actually quite well.
It's never been as bad as it was when she first started.
And people do say that, and at the time you're like, oh yeah, right. But it is true that, of course, she still gets some illnesses. But in the grand scheme of things, it's nowhere near as bad as it was.
And Lily wasn't too bad, really. I mean,
no.
I say that. It was tough. We got a lot of colds and stuff. Yeah. But I know some people where they were sent home, every time they went in. Because they had a high
temperature
And so for Lily it was more, she wasn't sent home, but she did come back with a load of illnesses that then spread around the house. And also
she often wouldn't be sent home, but it'd be the day before she was due back in, she'd be throwing up. So then she would miss it the day. It's not early.
Yeah. Shall we talk about that? I feel like it's a common thing with parents where it's well, they need to go to nursery, but they are ill. We're going to try and hide it.
And I used to be really judgmental. When Lily used to get really ill, I was like, well, some people are not keeping their kids off. Some people. And then we slowly became those people.
Yeah.
Because you start going, I'm paying so much money, and it's only a little cough. It's not bad. Let's just dose her up with alcohol.
It's only a little illness.
And shove her through the doors. And hopefully... her social pressure will keep her acting well all day.
I mean, that's the lifesaver, isn't it? Cowpole. What would we do without cowpole?
Yeah.
I mean, we've got through so much cowpole over the last year and through those winter things. I mean, we're basically, at that point, we often refer to it as drugging her.
Yeah.
We're drugging her every evening before bed.
Because she was ill all the time.
Yeah.
It just became a thing where we might as well give her Calpol tonight because she's bound to have something.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we went over the recommended dose multiple times.
This is a side story. What has made me less worried about drugging our daughter? My sister's son... Have I mentioned this before? Maybe. Who knows? My sister's son was about 3 and he found a whole bottle of Calpol that he managed to open and drink the whole bottle of. And I remember Laura had to, call someone up and be like, I don't know who, poison control, someone. Some medically trained person, and was like, what do I do? And they were both like, watch him, and he was fine. So ever since then, I'm not saying give him a whole bottle of Calpol.
Don't take this as advice from us.
Don't take this as downing.
Don't do this at home.
I mean, when I've been worried, I'm like, it's not quite the right amount of time between each one, but she's going to go to bed and I can't wake her up to have the Calpol. I'm like, you know what? It's not a whole bottle of Calpol, so I'm sure she'll be fine.
Yeah, these days we tend to go on the kind of 24-hour period, try and stick within what they recommend for that.
Yes, rather than keeping the distances.
Rather than per dose worrying about it. Because I know some people like to do little and often, littler doses and just do it quite regularly. I've gone the other way. And I was thinking about saving this for a parenting achievement thing, but in the end I thought it's more suited here, which was I kind of gave up with the little syringe that you get with Calpol, and I was just like, here you go, Lily, here's the bottle, and she could just chug it. And have a huge swig, and I'm like, well, that's almost half the bottle gone, but hopefully she'll feel better.
The things you do.
Yeah.
When he's left to his own devices with a child.
I mean, that's not even I'm not even sure if I should admit to this. No, you know about this.
Oh.
My latest hack, I suppose, if you want to call it that, which is probably, again, very unrecommended. So
was this putting it in her milk?
No. That's. I think that's recommended, isn't it?
Yeah, they make them drink it. Yeah.
I was more thinking that to save money, because I'm like a.
Yeah. I don't know if we should air this. I think you're going to get in trouble.
I've gone for, instead of buying the 3-month plus cowpole, I've gone for buying like the next one up, because you get the same amount but it's cheaper, and I just give her like a tiny amount of it because it's like diluted in her milk.
Yeah, that is true.
It's like the same amount as the small one.
It's true. He was just like, why are we paying all this money for the...
And I was looking at the dosage, like how much paracetamol does it have per, thing of liquid? And I was like working it out. So I think it should be safe.
Yeah, that's fine. I still feel like we're going to get complaints, but yeah, we've justified our position.
Yeah, probably don't do what we do.
No.
Maybe other people do it. I feel like I'm fully like, what's the expression, kind of becoming like a cheap northerner. Like embodying the kind of like Yorkshire way of like, how can I save my pennies? Yeah,
it's true. He just came in one day and he's like, I've bought the older one because it's cheaper. And it's better stuff. Why would I buy the weaker stuff?
Mm. Well, considering I was letting her have like half a bottle down one sitting, I feel like one tiny little bit of the older cowpole can't possibly be as strong as...
True. He can justify it.
Oh dear. I always find it fascinating that obviously the illnesses spread around the house, so it's not just Lily that gets it. We all end up with it at one point or another. Normally, very infuriatingly, we have like a delay, so like it just goes one by one round the house. By the
not all in one fell swoop. No, like delayed by a week.
That's probably better though, because if you're all down together, then it's hard. Who looks after the child? Although this way it means there's no respite, because...
No, this always annoys me, because the way this works out is Lily gets ill first, then Elliot gets ill. Then because Elliot's ill, I'm like, okay, I will be the person do everything, cooking, cleaning, looking after him. Then I get ill, but he's not yet recovered. So I don't get the wraparound service that I have provided to him, because he's still ill.
And I'm a typical man. I tend to get illnesses worse.
Yeah.
I'm sticking up for men here. We get it worse.
No, I think they're very dramatic.
I'm not overdoing it. It's really bad.
It's like laid out. And somehow when I'm ill, I manage to do stuff. Just saying. Seems to be an odd thing that happens.
We do get different symptoms though. We do. Everyone in the house seems to get different symptoms.
I will say, you seem to catch a lot more of her bugs than I do, which is very odd considering she basically is attached to me most of the time. But
we always attribute this to you being you're quite a sickly child.
Yes, very sickly.
You got quite a few...
got a lot of
bugs as a kid, and so therefore maybe your immune system's actually...
Yeah, I think it's probably true.
Whereas I was kind of a bubble-wrapped child, and I wasn't that ill.
I also think you probably weren't as sociable.
Yeah,
whereas I was quite... Like, I had my sisters, and obviously the more of us there are, the more bugs you get in the house. So I think we got an awful lot of bugs. But I think it is good. Maybe this is a tip. Try and let your kids catch everything. In the way of being like, when they're older, you are a lot more resistant.
And it definitely works like that, doesn't it? Because we found this winter... is so much better than last winter. Like, clearly we've built up some sort of tolerance to some of the bugs.
And she has.
And Lily has as well. So, it does get better. It does. Just get through it, and it gets better. And we've been told, some of our listeners were messaging and letting us know that actually once you get to school and your kids are even older, and you have older kids than we do, it gets even better. They've kind of built up a tolerance. Obviously you do get, stuff goes round, typical of schools and nurseries, isn't it? But...
Well, that's also, I saw some people recommending that you send your children purely almost to nursery so that then they're healthier at school, so they catch most of the bugs, because obviously the children who haven't been to nurseries who start school, or haven't been as long, will catch more of the bugs when they first start, whereas if your kid's kind of, a hardened nursery child, they won't get as many.
That's a hard balance to do though, isn't it? Because I can see maybe for the kids' health, it's better for them to catch it when they're younger. And maybe I assume that there's maybe less complications to catching it when they're older.
You could also argue, the parents might not just that you don't have time to.
Well, exactly. I feel like it'd be way easier to deal with a sick primary school age kid than it would be to deal with a sick toddler
who can't tell you when they're going to throw up.
Yeah.
She's good now. She's got to an age at 2.5 where they can tell you they're going to throw up.
Mm.
And you can put them. Whereas before, you just were sat there is she going to throw up again? What's happening?
Yeah. So that's a whole nother element, isn't it? As parents, when you've got sick children, you're then, you have even less sleep.
Mm.
It's bad enough for the best of times.
Yeah. And I get really... this is a me problem. It's not people who don't have children's problem, but it's annoying when people who don't have children go, I've been so ill, I've been laid out. And I'm like, oh, you were laid out, were you?
How terrible.
Oh, no.
You have no other responsibilities.
Thing. I'm like, if I could be ill and laid out, that would be heaven. To be able to lay out and be ill. Oh.
Yeah.
Once again, not their problem, my problem.
Yeah, true.
I just feel like they don't know how good they get it. It's a luxury to be ill and let yourself sleep in and be ill.
It's the realities of parenting, isn't it? And sometimes we look back on that time before we had kids and we're like, wow, we did not appreciate our lives that we had.
I made a big fuss over a lot of stuff that is stupid now. I'm like, what was I talking about?
You'd send Lily into nursery and she'd be ill, but then suddenly she'd be all better again.
Yeah.
Or the opposite, you'd keep her off nursery, being she's too ill to go in today.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was she had at least a life.
No, I did. She'd have been throwing up all night. And I'd be like, there's no way we can send her in. Terrible. Have to keep her at home. Kept her at home, and then she'd be looking at me like, what are we going to do today? I'd be like, you're ill. You want to be laying out watching TV? But no. Have to come up with activities. But also, you get the thing where, don't know if you feel the same way. Don't want to put it on you. But, when they're really ill, I literally have this thing where, I would do anything in the world right now to make them better. Because I'm so, emotionally, I just want her to be well, and she's so miserable, and I just want her to be happy.
Yeah, I don't think I have that.
Yeah, same.
I don't know whether it's because I'm a man, because I have a heart of stone, but, when Lily's ill, often the temptation is to be the rules are out the window and anything goes because obviously,
she's ill.
But for me, I'm she's ill a lot of the time. We literally cannot just throw out the rules. Some stuff has to stay, sleeping in your bed at night,
true.
Not having a dummy. Some stuff I'm going to plow through with this. You might be ill, but I'm still going to put you in timeout because it's a long-term vision in my head. Yes, we've got to get there.
I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying, in my mind, if there was anything I could do, I would do it.
Yeah, I know. This is often in our house, we end up with a good cop, bad cop situation.
This probably I'm the favourite.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm the strict one.
I'm getting stricter, though.
Yeah. It's sponsor time. Although it's not really a normal sponsorship. We're not like other podcasts. We're not trying to sell anything particularly, or this isn't an advert that we're making money from. No. It's just an opportunity really to share something that's kind of important to us about being part of a Christian community, and we're very grateful to be doing this project through the support of the Kairos movement and Yorkshire North and East Methodist District. I asked some of the people in Kairos how they would describe Kairos. Kairos allows you to express faith through your passions and interests, which I think is a good way of describing it. Just as kind of we're expressing ours through our passion for parenting doing this podcast. Yeah. What do you like about Kairos, Emma?
It links back to nursery. You can do what you want to do. It's not like you have to go to church and you have to have the same service every week. Not that I'm saying that's what all churches do. Don't come for me. I'm just saying it's not a traditional, it can be if you want it to be, but it doesn't have to be a traditional faith-based thing.
I often describe it as a pick-a-mix type thing, but I like that way of expressing it. Well, you can find out more about our partnership with Kairos on our website, www.kairosmovement.org.uk/Don't Wake the Baby. Some of the illnesses that it'd be good to talk about are some of the ones that are like particular to like nursery and this kind of toddler age group. So like when we started, there was an outbreak of, is it hand, foot and mouth? Yeah.
Which I was very confused by as a farmer's daughter.
Yeah.
Because I'd heard of like foot and mouth, but I hadn't heard of hand, foot and mouth.
No, I'd never heard of it. And then there's obviously the kind of very well-known things around like chicken pox and things like nits.
Have you heard there's going to be a vaccine they recommend people have now? I'm really pro it, actually.
Because we heard it was like happening in America.
Yeah.
But it looks like it might be coming here.
Yeah. The problem is I think she's missed the age range, so I think we might have to pay privately to get her jabbed.
We have the dilemma that we don't actually know whether I had chickenpox as a child.
We do,
So we're not sure how dangerous it is to us or not.
No. We know I definitely did, because I remember it well. But no, we don't know if you did not.
No.
If something big is coming up, like a Christmas party,
a holiday,
or a wedding, we're like, let's just not send her in this week. And we have the luxury to do that.
We are privileged that we're able
we can be like, hey,
that.
Can you come and look after her? Or,
yeah.
But we often then are like, we don't want her to be ill for this one occasion, so we're just going to have to not have her in nursery this week because we just don't want her to catch anything. So decisions like that, sometimes we do preventative stuff.
And then most recently there's been nits going round in our nursery, which we've avoided so far, which is good. But that's brought a whole new experience to our household of doing nit stuff, checking and prevention.
We've got this like spray we send her in all over her hair. We're lucky in that she doesn't really like taking off her hat. Like, depending if she really likes the hat, it's all style related.
Yeah, like the shower cap that she didn't take off all day.
I sent her in with a sheep hat the other day, and that apparently came off straight away, so not a good one if you're avoiding nits, apparently. But the hat with the unicorn on stays on all day, so it's pretty good one for avoiding nits.
This is a whole new experience for us, but I'm sure it's quite something that other parents have got used to or experienced. It's kind of...
Well, I know some people
it goes in phases.
You just keep getting it.
Yeah.
So...
There we go. That's the advantage of listening to us on a podcast, because if we all met up in person as parents, we'd be all sharing on it. And it happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We meet up and have play dates and see other families. Then you're like, oh, by the way, we've got an illness. And you're like, sometimes we cancel. But more often than not, we're like, well, we've got an illness too. Yeah. So let's just swap.
Normally we're like, well, our child's already ill, so that's fine.
Yeah. So this way you can enjoy the parenting chat without getting the illnesses. That should be like the promotional thing of the podcast, shouldn't it? Like
talk to the parents without risk of illness or infection.
So in all these topics, we'd love to hear from you and what your thoughts are. If you agree or have had similar experiences to us, or maybe you've had different ones, it would be fascinating to
Don't tell me a kid went to nursery and was never ill. I'm not going to believe it.
Literally, just go away. Do not comment.
Well, no, it's a lie. I'm saying it's impossible.
I'm sure there might be some people had.
There's not. There's no way any child's gone to nursery being completely fine.
Yes. Or we focused a lot on nursery, but let us know kind of how you deal with childcare, all that stuff. Get involved in the conversation. Week to week, we release these podcasts, but the conversation keeps on going. You can talk with us, get involved on our socials, on YouTube, on Instagram, at don'twakethebaby_podcast. Or join us over on Facebook, where we have a group chat with a community of parents around Yorkshire and beyond, where we can kind of chat with each other and share stories and experiences and tips. We often crowdsource things from them, tell them updates about what we're doing, about what the podcast is up to. You get to hear some of the topics ahead of time, so you can feed in your thoughts so we can discuss them live on the show.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure when we were little how prevalent things like nannies and babysitters and childminders were. Like, whether that was common.
I had a nanny, but my parents were odd in that they both worked.
Yeah, I had babysitters when I was a bit older, but when I was young, like, my mum wasn't working when I was very little.
That's what I mean, you're more normal, whereas my mum was always working.
Yeah. Oh, it's hard with four of you. You kind of
you have to
need the support anyway.
Yeah. Well, I remember we had two... Yeah, so we always had a nanny, like for as long as I could remember because we had to.
And we've mentioned this before, but we're slightly unusual in that we've got slightly older parents, and therefore our grandparents weren't as around on the scene as much.
Or just weren't as able.
Yeah.
I remember, like, when I was very young, Nana did take us, like, for fish and chips and stuff.
Oh, really?
Maybe once a week.
That's nice.
Was nice. But that was, I must have been very little because I can't remember it that well.
Yeah.
Like, I remember being excited going to the fish and chip shop, but
yeah,
I don't have much past that.
Whereas almost since I was born, my granddads weren't alive, and my nanny and my grandma, both of them were quite... one was quite elderly and one had health issues, so neither of them were ever able to provide childcare or anything like that.
Well, that's like my gran in Whitby. She couldn't really look after you. Like, you could go and visit, but she couldn't walk very well, and she didn't have the capabilities to do that, really.
Yeah.
Whereas my other nana was, I think, slightly younger and more active. So she could do more early on.
But even despite that, I think in today's society there is more reliance on grandparents to provide help than there used to be. It feels like.
I think so, because I've seen a lot of things on Mum's Net where parents have got annoyed that their grandparents don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, they kind of want to live their lives, which, I mean, it's, it's right, they've had their kids. But also, I think a lot of us are like, well, that's our only option.
Like, it's almost impossible to, you know, unless they're in nursery 5 days a week, and then the cost makes it almost not worthwhile.
Not worth working.
We've not gone into the costs here. We might, at some point in the future, do something around money and parenting, or maybe the cost of living stuff. But yeah, I think everyone knows, like, childcare is expensive. It's the non-parents that always get surprised when you're like, well, I'm spending more on childcare than rent.
No, or it's people who have older children because they haven't gone through at its like
recently, of course, because stuff's got more expensive.
So I was talking to some other parents at church, but all their kids are in school, and I was saying how much we paid, and they were like, no, and they went, oh, but she goes every day. I was like, no, that's 2 days a week, and they were amazed.
Yeah.
Because they said they'd heard it was high, but obviously they hadn't lived through that, so they didn't know how high.
Do you think our expectations have changed as well? Like, what we expect from nurseries may be more than what in the 90s.
I think so.
But because we're paying more, but also because things have moved on, it'll be interesting to see how things change again as we go forward. You know, there's talk of the childcare becoming free under like the government scheme. We'll wait and see if that actually happens.
We'll see.
Yeah, well,
I'd love it to be true.
We all got very excited at that announcement,
of
and then
the budget.
like you look into the details and realised, well, it's like a year away, and then it only applies to certain people, and then there's going to be. It's technically there'll be election before it all happens. Yeah, so we'll see if any of that comes to actually into play. Yeah. Definitely.
I'm highly doubtful.
That brings us on quite nicely to share some stories from listeners, those that have sent us in some comments and things. They've said, I measure a good day if our daughter has had at nursery by how many changes of clothes they've got through. I think the max was 4 new outfits in one day. Just because they love, climbing in the sensory bins, doing anything with water and all the messy play stuff.
That's true. Messy play in sensory is huge now.
Again, we'll probably dig into more of that on a future episode. And we just got so much to talk about.
We do.
We had someone ask us the other day, like, have you run out of things to talk about yet? And we were like, what? Like, there's so much. And
honestly, every episode we've done, I've thought of another 100 things that we could talk about it. Because I keep telling Elliot, when you start doing 2 parts, there's so much depth you could go into with everything. So if you're a listener and you would like a 2-parter episode, let us know so that I get my own way.
Just a couple more very short comments from listeners that were sent in via our Instagram. Last episode we talked about, I was going to say parenting, but of course we talked about parenting. My brain's gone completely blank. Pregnancy, that's the word I was looking for. And so on our Instagram stories, We had a few responses saying that, how was pregnancy for you? And one was like a whole 9 months of denying myself everything I like. Laughing face. That's great. That's and another replied with, awful. I hated all of it.
Great. Hate when people said they were lovely pregnancy. Once again, bitterness. Not anything against them. Just I didn't enjoy it.
If you have any short little comments you want to feed in, it doesn't have to be long, complex stories. It can be just one-liner things. Keep an eye on our stories on Instagram and you can engage with us there as well. We've made it to the end.
Woohoo!
It's the end of the episode. Thank you for joining us in the imaginary grandparents' bungalow this morning, afternoon, evening, middle of the night, whenever you're listening to this. We'll see you next time. Sleep well, everyone.
God bless.